I'm Batman.
Hey there and welcome to my channel, where we do fun D&D builds and hopefully have an outlet to stop pestering the people in our lives with non-stop Dungeons & Dragons possibilities. Today, let's do a D&D take on Batman. That way, when you're playing D&D, you can still pull the
I'm Batman.
There's going to be a lot of different variations on this, but I think this should balance out most of it. As always, all of our builds are in 5th edition, just because that's what I play and that's the most common thing nowadays. We try and update our builds based off of new books, so always make sure to come back and check in, see what's new. Let's go ahead and start off the build. Batman and Bruce Wayne are obviously human, so we will take human as our race, and we're going to go with the variant human so we can get a feat while we're at it. Batman is known as the world's greatest detective, so we need that intelligence and we need the dexterity for all the stealthy goodness we're going to be getting into. As far as stats, we have a 10 in strength, which is pretty baseline, and I know Batman works out a hell of a lot. Batfleck especially is beefy as all hell. But compared to other folks in the DC universe, he's pretty average. So we're going to leave that as a 10. Dexterity, we're going to put 15 points into, and then you get that +1 from your human background, so that brings it out to 16. Constitution, he takes decent care of himself, unless you're talking about old man Batman, who's ready to fall apart. So we'll just keep that at a 14, so he's not too squishy, but still can take a couple hits. Intelligence, we're going to buff that up to 15, and then it gets boosted again from the human variant, which brings him out to 16. Now, wisdom and charisma, I completely left at 8, and there are real reasons behind this. One, Bruce Wayne is rich as hell. If he wanted to fight crime in Gotham, I'm sure there are ways a billionaire can do it other than dressing up and pummeling bad guys to death. Or almost to death. Charisma was hard to give up. He does have a tendency to pretend he's not Batman, and therefore might need a little persuasion, but we're playing as Batman, not as Bruce Wayne, so throw that out. And the only other thing we would use charisma for is intimidation, but hopefully just the pure stealthy and creepy nature of Batman will do that for us. So now the feat. As far as a feat, this is a little difficult, but I'm going to go with the new Fighting Initiate feat that was released in some of the more recent books. That way we give Batman a fighting style, and of course we're going to go with unarmed fighting. He knows how to punch people, and we don't have enough wisdom to dip into monk, so let's just take that from fighter. Now, when it comes to background, this is a huge toss-up, but I do know what I'm going to go with. The initial background I wanted to go with was noble, because he is known as the Crown Prince of Gotham. He's born with a silver spoon in his mouth and all of that. And just to make it a little extra difficult, there's even a noble variant called Knight, and Batman is a Dark Knight, and it's so hard to fight against this. But there is something from Curse of Strahd as far as a background that works a little bit better, and we're going to go with the Haunted One background. This will give you proficiency in investigation, which we really need as the world's greatest detective, and there is even a list of harrowing events that you can pick from. Of that harrowing event list, all the way down at number 10, there is an event that specifically describes it as "You did terrible things to avenge the murder of someone you loved. You became a monster, and it haunts your waking dreams," which seems super fitting for a man haunted by the image of bats and cannot stop dreaming of his parents' murder in an alley. This also gives you another ability called Heart of Darkness. Those who look into your eyes can see that you have faced unimaginable horror and that you are no stranger to darkness. Though they might fear you, commoners will extend you every courtesy and do their utmost to help you. That seems pretty fitting. And under suggested characteristics, we have the ideals of logic, determination, or selflessness, or even greater good. They all really fit Batman well, so you can kind of pick and choose whatever you want, unless you want to customize your own. When it comes to flaws, number 5, we have I am a purveyor of doom and gloom who lives in a world without hope. That seems pretty straightforward. And bonds, we have number 2, which is I would sacrifice my life and my soul to protect the innocent. The Haunted One background will give you proficiency in investigation and survival, which seem pretty fitting. You also get to choose one exotic language, one of which is Undercommon, which sounds somewhat fitting. It's just the underbelly of Gotham, so let's just go with that. You also get equipment, a Monster Hunters pack, and one trinket of special significance. You can choose one or roll on the Gothic trinkets available from this book. The book is Curse of Strahd, an entire book about a vampire, aka a lot of bat stuff, in a Gothic setting, so let's just roll with it. You also get a set of common clothes for whenever you don't want to be Batman and you want to pretend to be Bruce Wayne. You also get one other language from your human features, and from that, I would probably go with Elvish, because there is high elves and they tend to deal a lot with nobility, so that seems pretty fitting. So with our human background, we're going to go ahead and just take acrobatics, because you do have to do a lot of jumping and flipping around, and it just makes sense. Then let's jump into level 1. And of course, right at the start of Bruce Wayne's story, he treks up a mountain and goes and hangs out with the League of Shadows. And what seems more fitting than Rogue for that? With Rogue, we get a few more skill proficiencies and saving throws in dexterity and intelligence. He's going to be able to disarm traps with his thieves' tools. He gets proficiency in simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. But we're not going to worry about most of those other than hand crossbows and simple weapons. As far as skills, we're going to go ahead and add in athletics, intimidation, perception, and stealth, because you can't be Batman without stealth. At level 1, you also get expertise in 2 of your skill proficiencies. You can choose your thieves' tools, but we're definitely not going to do that in this situation. What we're going to go with is stealth for sure, because you need to be hiding in the shadows constantly.
Where are you?
Here.
And then you're the world's greatest detective, so we're going to go ahead and bump up that investigation with expertise as well. You also get sneak attack, which is just kind of necessary, and you're going to be hiding and sneak attacking constantly, and it's only fitting that when you drop out of the shadows, you just jump onto somebody. In dealing with the criminals of Gotham, you do get Thieves' Cant, so you can understand them a bit better, and then we jump into level 2, where you get Cunning Action. This allows you to use your bonus action for dash, disengage, or hide, which seems super necessary because now you can hit somebody and then hide. At level 3, you get a roguish archetype. And what many people would know is League of Shadows is also known as the League of Assassins, depending on which source you use. So we would take the Assassin's archetype, but we're not going to do that because right before he gets initiated as an assassin, he gets the hell out of there and he doesn't want to kill anybody. So we're only taking 2 levels of rogue. After Batman makes that insanely long trek back to Gotham, we need to figure out what his next level is going to be. And one thing Batman's known for, his gadgets. And what better class to be than Artificer? We already have the intelligence necessary for Artificer, so let's just jump into what you're going to get. At level 1, you get Magical Tinkering. You have a utility belt. You need to be able to tinker with it and all of the gadgets that are within it. Some of that magical tinkering allows you to create a tiny non-magical object that does a variety of things, like sheds a bright light, or is tapped by a creature and emits a recorded message. I'm sure with all of your sneaking around, you can do some fun stuff and call somebody over just to sneak up behind them and punch them in the face. Only issue is that you do not get sneak attack damage when punching somebody because it requires a finesse or ranged weapon, and you don't have a weapon when you are punching somebody in this manner. At level 1, you also get 2 cantrips as far as spell casting. Now I know Batman doesn't cast spells, but we're going to try and keep with the theme here. So one thing Batman always does have is his grappling hook, and he uses it to pull people in. So that gives us Thorn Whip. Thorn Whip allows you to create a long vine-like whip covered in thorns. It lashes out, and when you hit somebody with it, you can pull them 10 feet closer. That seems right. So let's keep it. Also, we have Shocking Grasp. This seems super fitting because there are variations of Batman, especially in some of the games, where he can grab somebody and shock them. There are a few other options we have here, but these seem the most fitting for now. Now we also have to pick out some level 1 spells, and we get a handful to choose from. Batman's going to know a total of 3 spells to start. We're trying to keep it fairly non-magical for the most part, so let's go with Long Strider, Jump, and Snare. They all seem pretty fitting, and they really just enhance his general ability while not going overboard. Snare is just like setting up a trap that can restrain a creature, which seems so fitting for Batman. We have Jump because you're going to be jumping around all the time. Batman does it constantly. And we have Long Strider just to boost your movement speed a little bit. Now we're going to go into level 2 of Artificer. Level 2 is where it starts getting interesting and you start getting some real Batman style gadgets. You can infuse 2 items and 4 infusions. The infusions we're going to go with are Bag of Holding because that seems like an alternative for the utility belt, and the Rope of Climbing. The Rope of Climbing is perfect to replace our grappling hook. Granted, Rope of Climbing does move much slower than a grappling hook, and it will take you a while to actually hook onto something, but it's closest we got for right now, so we're going to go with it. You can essentially shoot it up towards something, although it only goes about 10 feet each turn, and then you can climb it. We also get 1 more spell to choose from, and I'm going to go with Featherfall. That seems pretty fitting since Batman does have a tendency to drop down and go unnoticed while at the same time not taking any damage. Then we're going to go into level 3 where you get to choose a specialty for your Artificer and the right tool for the job. The right tool for the job seems super well done because whenever you need tools, you always have them at your disposal, just like Adam West does all the time, although you won't happen to pull a tool for shark repellent out of your bag of holding. We have a few options for specialty: Alchemist, Armor, Artillerist, or Battlesmith. Now, Battlesmith is kind of cool, but Batman really depends on himself more than anything else, except for maybe his dog Ace. But usually it's just him. And he's got a pretty fancy suit, so we're going to go with Armorer. Armorer gives you proficiency in heavy armor, as well as proficiency with Smith's tools if you don't already have them. It gives you some cool spells to start off with. Magic Missile and Thunder Wave sound pretty awesome, and Magic Missile you can treat just like your Batarangs in between when you're throwing daggers, which are also going to be Batarangs, but that's more of a rogue style. And Thunder Wave for when you slam down with impressive force on your enemies. You have your Arcane Armor, which allows you to ignore strength requirements for armor. You can use it as your spellcasting focus. And one thing that's really key is that the armor attaches to you and can't be removed against your will. You can also don and doff your armor as an action instead of the insane amount of time that it would take normally. This seems nice, but it seems a little less accurate because I can only picture Batman taking his sweet time getting his suit on. You also get to pick an armor model. You can choose between Guardian and Infiltrator. And this actually works both ways because Batman has different suits for different occasions. Most of the time, you're going to go Infiltrator. It will give you dampening field, so you have advantage on stealth checks. And if the armor normally imposes disadvantage, then you can cancel each other out. This will make you almost unheard and invisible most of the time, since you also have expertise at stealth. So you're really going to be the most stealthy person around. You're going to be slipping through the shadow fast with powered steps as your walking speed gets increased by 5 feet, and you have lightning launcher, so you can shoot out little tasers. When you have to go up against someone pretty beefy, you can switch over to the Guardian armor. This gives you Thunder Gauntlets, which allows you to punch with some real force. And Defensive Field, allowing you to be a bit more of a tank. Level 4, we're going to go ahead and get an ability score improvement, which we're just going to take Intelligence. That brings us up to 18 and gives us another spell to be able to learn, as well as giving us one more spell with being an artificer at level 4. So 2 more spells to choose from, and let's go with Fairy Fire. That way we can get advantage on so many of our attacks. And we could go with Disguise Self, but we're going more for Batman and a little less of Bruce Wayne. I would choose Expeditious Retreat since it seems super fitting, but you already get to dash on your bonus action being a rogue. So let's go ahead and choose Grease. I love Grease. It's an awesome spell. I feel like it's very underutilized, and I wish it was kind of buffed a little bit, but it's awesome to really just mess with your enemies. At level 5, we're going to get an extra attack, which is super helpful and really helps boost our damage. Our armor specialty gives you Mirror Image and Shatter, both of which sound awesome and very fitting for Batman. They won't know where you really are, and you can let out large booming noises, which at level 5 you can cast level 2 spells, but we're not going to pick up any more yet just because we haven't got the extra space. At level 6 we get more infusions, and we can learn one more spell. The spell I'm going to go with is Blur. It's always hard to see Batman amidst the shadows, so this seems very Batman-esque. You also get Tool Expertise, which means you can double your proficiency bonus for any ability check you make using proficiency with a tool, which really makes it a good thing that you did not take Expertise when you chose Rogue. The additional infused item I would choose at level 6 is Boots of Elvenkind. These will give you advantage on dexterity stealth checks that rely on moving silently. This way you can still be stealthy while having the Guardian armor on, allowing you to punch real hard with thunderous force while at the same time being super stealthy. At level 7 of Artificer, you get Flash of Genius, allowing you to add your intelligence modifier to somebody else's roll, which is really helpful when somebody's being an idiot.
Maybe I could move the Earth out of the way. If we had a week, I couldn't list all the reasons that won't work.
At level 8, we're going to go ahead and round out our ability score improvements in intelligence. This gives us a max of 20 intelligence, and we get 2 more spells because we got an even number in Artificer and we boosted our intelligence. I'm pretty sure I would stick with Rope Trick, as this allows you to sneak up to the rafters and hide in invisibility for a short rest. And then it's a bit of a toss-up between See Invisibility and Dark Vision. I would go with See Invisibility. There are plenty of instances where Batman uses things like sonar, which would allow you to see invisible creatures, and Dark Vision you can get from other magical items like the Goggles of Night. At level 9, we get armor modifications, and this is going to be super helpful because it breaks down the armor into chest piece, boots, helmet, and the armor's special weapon, and you can now infuse 2 more items, but the extra items must be part of your armor. So the Boots of Elvenkind are now going to be used as part of the armor, which means we get 1 more from that magic item list. And to give us the other one we need, let's go ahead and grab Gloves of Thievery. Never seen Batman struggle with a lock, so let's make sure we stick with that theme. And since we have the extra slot, let's go with Goggles of Night. Now we really don't need Dark Vision, and I'm happy I didn't choose it. Now let's go on to level 10. We get Magic Item Adept, which means you can attune to more magic items, and you get 1 more infusion and another spell. The extra spell I'm going to go with is Blink. This allows you to disappear entirely from existence at random, and that seems very Batman-like.
That's when I took this job, Lieutenant. How are you getting back in? He does that.
When it comes to the extra item, let's grab the Brooch of Shielding. This can actually be replacing your giant bat symbol on your chest, and yeah, it's a little brooch, but we'll just pretend it's big and bat-like. I was going to go with the Gloves of Ogre Power, but you only use your intelligence for punching at this point, so it's kind of a waste, even though some more strength would be kind of cool. We also get 1 more cantrip, so let's grab Guidance while we're at it. Batman makes smart choices, so let's just boost that smartness a little bit more. At level 11, you get a spell storing item, which is pretty darn cool, but it's not super Batman themed unless he's just storing a gadget that happens to have some crazy ability in it, so it's just worth noting. Then at level 12, we get another ability score improvement. So let's boost our dexterity to 18, get a little more stealthy, and we get one more spell. So let's grab haste. It's super useful. You get an extra action, you get a little more speed, and there's nothing against the theme of what we're going for in the situation. At level 9, the armor also gets Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt. Although Lightning Bolt doesn't fit the theme super well, he does use electricity at times, so it's not the end of the world. Hypnotic Pattern can be pretty useful, and you can also pretend that it is one of the smoke bombs he throws to just distract people and not know what's going on. At level 13, you get access to 2 more spells as an armor. Greater Invisibility, which seems super helpful and super Batman-like, and Fire Shield, which granted isn't super Batman-esque, but we'll just pretend it's a fancy part of your cloak. At level 14, you get Magic Item Savant and an additional infusion that you can use, not to mention one more spell. For the spell, let's just go ahead and grab Arcane Eye. It'll help you scout, and it seems pretty fitting for what happened in the Dark Knight. If anybody is looking at the magic item list, I think you can guess what infusion we're going to go with. It's the Cloak of the Bat. This cloak also gives you advantage on stealth checks, so you can swap out the boots for pretty much any random infusion that you want. But while the boots do help still when it comes to making sound, the Cloak of the Bat is just going to give you overall advantage on stealth checks, so you might not need the boots anymore, and you can swap them out for anything else you'd like. Plus now you can grip the edges of the cloak with both hands and use it to fly up to 40 feet. There is also an ability to polymorph into a bat, but we don't really need that part. Magic Item Savant gives you the ability to attune to up to 5 magic items instead of 4, and 4 was already upgraded from the usual 3 just because you're so used to magic items. And you can ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements on attuning to or using magic items. At level 15, you get Perfected Armor. The Guardian Armor is going to allow you to pull enemies around as long as they're huge or smaller, and you're not going to run into a ton of creatures that are larger than huge. And if you're using the Infiltrator Armor, you can dazzle your enemies when you shock them with your lightning damage. They get jolted if they attack you, they have disadvantage on attacks against you, and you have advantage attacking them next time, which you get extra lightning damage for doing. Level 16, we get our last ability score improvement that we're going to get in this build, and we're just going to go ahead and max out dexterity. Super stealthy, super dexterous. Level 17, we get Pass Wall and Wall of Force, because Batman doesn't have to worry about walls. He gets right through them. And Wall of Force we can just use in your Batcave. Finally, level 18 of Artificer, which brings us to level 20 of this build overall. You get Magic Item Master, 1 more infusion, and 1 more spell. As for the spell, I think I would go with Greater Restoration. That way you can shrug off being charmed or petrified, deal with curses. You know, Batman always comes up with a solution for these things. Magic Item Master allows you to attune to more magic items that you come across or that you build yourself. And as far as another item to infuse, when it comes to infusions, you're kind of out of super Batman-esque things. Bracers of Defense sound cool, but you're already wearing armor, so you can't really use them or benefit from them. So I would go ahead and choose either Resistant Armor to make sure that your armor is customized for any particular situation and being resistant to one particular type of damage while you have this infusion activated. Or you can do Ring of Protection, which gives you an extra +1 to AC. It can be pretty helpful. It's very boring and straightforward, but it works. And with that, that is my unreasonably detailed and unreasonably long build of Batman for D&D. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you learned anything, or if you want to totally correct me on a million things that I might have gotten wrong or that you could have done better, feel free to comment down below. And either way, try and leave a like. It helps the channel. Thanks, and until next build, I will see you later.